Money is funny. Kodo for better ya. I better ya. Amutala se jawya. Astu ka kam fama kodo be kodo. Binta ope am fama kodo be kodo. Na ya jija. Konse mama. Dala so nin sefa. Balo ni euro. Balo ni euro. Nin dala so nin sefa. Dala so nin sefa. Balo ni euro.
Yeah, yeah, I think, Assalamu alaikum, Badimoli, yeah, my name is Shanka Bilal, today I'm here with Matida. We got just a quick 30 minutes program with you guys. So introduction about myself. I was born in Sukuta. For those of you who don't know, I've been living in England for a while. I'm a graduate member of the world's leading institution for occupational safety and health, IOS, and I'm also a graduate member of AIMA. That's the Institution for Environmental Assessment and Management. I also graduated from University of Greenwich not long ago. I'm currently on my master's. Yeah, but this show is not about me. It's about Matida. So enough of me, man. So before we go, I'm just gonna describe some of the housekeeping rules. Basically, the program is gonna be split into two. So the first half, we're gonna be talking about Matida's journey into academia, basically her journey into education, and all the little struggles in there. And the second half, we will talk about the very important topic of Mbama care on Gambian women's life matter. So yeah, before we go, man, let me leave you with Matida, man. Matida, can you just tell people who don't know who you are and what you do, please?
Yeah. So my name is Matida Bojang. I'll try to speak in Mandinka a little bit.
Yeah.
So so Nata, I came to the US when I was 12. So Nata America in 2011 actually. And sign in a family in State in Wisconsin. Ban chamla mumba mata ning shirfo Bojang imbata buldikunda. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So basically, that's awesome, So Lafa come explain more, especially like a lot of the youths, come to Europe and they get involved in stuff. Me, I don't go, man. Okay, I understand. I just want you to explain kind of your journey into academia. How do you start?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to be a doctor, and I always wanted to work in healthcare. I think I wasn't exactly sure like what it was that I wanted to do in healthcare, but in the back of my mind, I always wanted to be a doctor. So when I went to college, when I came to college or university, so here in the US, I'm not sure how it works over in the UK, but here you have to choose a major, which is basically what you'll be. So when you go to undergrad, you have to choose a major, and that's basically what your concentration will be in, and you'll get a degree in that, and then you go off to medical school, professional school, or graduate school, whatever you want to do. So ever since high school, I really, really enjoyed biology and chemistry. So I was like, you know what? I like both biology and chemistry, so why not major in biochemistry? So that's kind of what led me to majoring in biochemistry. So, but eventually the goal is to go to medical school. So I went to go to medical school after I graduate. And so here in the US, it doesn't matter what you major in undergrad. You can major in criminal justice, psychology, whatever you want to do. And you can still go to medical school. They don't care. I know in the UK, it's a little different where you have to like you pretty much go right after high school, right?
Yeah.
But here it's much different. So yeah. So that's kind of what led me into that. But my interest in medicine essentially all comes from the health disparities that I saw when I lived in Gambia, from seeing my own family members and my friends just die from preventable causes, and just the growing issue of maternal mortality, I think really got me interested in medicine.
Yeah.
I visited Gambia in 2018 and I went to a hospital. So prior to that, actually, I was like, you know what, maybe I should actually do pharmacy.
Yeah.
And when I had that experience and I went to this hospital and I saw this birth in this room where there was barely any ventilation, there were barely any drugs, and this was at the Sukata clinic actually. And I was just like, no, like I have to go back to medicine. Like, these Gambian women must be saved.
Yeah.
So that's what really got me interested in medicine. I've always, it's my passion for the science, my kind of my own personal battles, and the battles that I saw with my family members, and just the need that I saw for more physicians and for more Black physicians, not in the US, but in Gambia as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To be honest, because we need people like you to actually, take the lead and stuff like this. Because a lot of us come to Europe and all you want to do is make quick money. A lot of the Gambians, well, when I went to America, it was a different case, but in the UK, a lot of the youth study non-science subjects. So
Yeah.
a lot of the people study like, they want to be accountants and stuff like that, man. And, at the moment, the way we're seeing how, our women and children are dying, I think that is enough because to get into medicine, yeah, from that, that's clear now, man. From that, so, because a lot of the people see you and they think everything is rosy. You've been living in this dream bubble. But obviously I know there's been some struggles. So can you kind of explain to people what are some of the struggles that you encounter as a person in your journey to now?
Yeah, so I encountered a lot of struggles. So even though when I was in Gambia, I went to like private school and whatnot, when I still came to the US, there was still a language barrier. I still didn't really fully know English. Like I remember I actually used to confuse he and she a lot. Like I like even then, like my English was not all the way there. So when I came here, it was a bit challenging at first to kind of assimilate into my new culture and into my new environment. And that was probably one of the biggest challenges, and just kind of like making friends, kind of being that I kind of came in. So when I came in here, I started in the 7th grade, and everyone already has their friends and whatnot. So at first it was a bit challenging to make friends as well. And having that language barrier made it even more challenging. But I thankfully kind of did things that I really enjoyed. So in middle school, so middle school is when I came here. We call it middle school. I don't know what you guys call it, but so 7th grade is when I came here, and running was something that I really enjoyed doing. So I joined the cross country. They call it cross country. So I joined that here, and I started doing that, and through that I was able to kind of start making friends, and so I just continued participating in things to continue to make more friends with similar goals and similar dreams. But the other challenges that I faced had more to do with academics. As I mentioned, English is not my first language. Mandinka is my first language, but you know what happens with that when you live here for so long, you start losing both. So now I speak more English than Mandinka, but I still speak more. I still speak fluent Mandinka. It's just hard for me to speak it when I'm like in this kind of format. If it was more, you know what I'm saying. But but yeah. So when it came to academics, I struggled a lot. I mean, my parents are not. They barely graduated from high school, so it wasn't similar to a lot of my American friends, who a lot of them had their parents and other relatives graduate from high school. But I had to, being a first generation student, I essentially had to kind of teach myself everything. And through that, I became very resourceful, and I would always watch YouTube videos and just try to find every resource out there to ensure that I succeeded in my classes. And I've thankfully done very well in almost everything that I've done so far in college and essentially in everywhere else. And I've had so many opportunities come my way because of my strong academic background. But yeah, I definitely had lots of challenges. It has not been easy, but I work super hard. And if you know me, you know that I like don't go out. Like I'm just like studying 24/7, and I had to work really, really hard. And going to medical school here is not an easy thing. Getting into a medical school is not. So I knew that I needed to work hard. But I had
to be honest, Carol.
Go ahead. Yeah, I know. I was saying that I did have a few challenges along the way. I can't think of like any specifics, but yeah, I had lots of challenges here and there.
Yeah, no, that kind of resonates with me as well. Because when I came to the UK, I decided to join the British Army, and if you know about England, we've got loads of accents. You know what I mean? So every little region's got its own accent. So it was really tough for me. The person who recruited me in the army was a Scottish guy. Yeah. Mind you, I barely speak English anyway when I came here. So, a Scottish guy talking to you was really tough. I can resonate with that, man. And it's good that people also have to know that education is not just you passing stuff. You need to put in the effort. You know what I mean? So on that, man, I want you to kind of give an advice to the youths who are watching this right now, man. What kind of step do they need to take to get into academia and to make their grades better? What are some of the things that they need to put in place, like a background or a refining block? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think first the key thing is to just have an idea of what you want. Have an idea of what you want to be someday. If you want to be a doctor or if you want to be a mechanical engineer, just have an idea of try to figure out what you like doing. If you find that you like helping people, maybe you belong in healthcare. If you find that you like science, maybe you belong in research. But try to find, first thing I think is the most important thing I think is to first identify what do you enjoy doing and what do you think you see yourself doing for 20 years plus, right? And then kind of coming up with a plan, right? Okay, in order to become a doctor, I have to, for one, graduate from high school, graduate from college, go to medical school, complete residency, and and then I'll become a doctor, right? So you have to have a defined path. It all depends on who you are, but I personally knew that I really, really enjoyed science. So I knew that when I went to undergrad, I was going to major in something that had to do with science. So there was going to be chemistry, biochem, biology. It was going to be one of those. So having a defined path is, I think, key. And then making sure that you follow through that. Set short-term and long-term goals for yourself. Set little goals like, okay, this semester I want to get a 4.0 or all A's. I know they don't use that system in Gambia a lot. And then set long-term goals. Okay, my long-term goal is I want to graduate from college with a 3.8 or all A's and some B's, right? And just take everything step by step. You don't have to think 10 steps ahead, but do have a defined path and be very resourceful. Like nowadays with improvements in technology, even in Gambia, people are using social media and other things a lot. So take advantage of those resources. There's a lot of information out there on Google, on Facebook, wherever you can find. Now you can find literally almost anything and everything that you need on the internet. So take full advantage of that. But also have a good support system. Have people that motivate you and have people that think like you. Be surrounded by those people. Literally all of my friends are in college and we're all very hardworking people and they motivate me to keep going. And you need to surround yourself with those kinds of people. You can't be if you want to be a doctor, you can't be surrounding yourself with people who want to party every weekend because you can't party every weekend. You have to study, right? There's nothing wrong. If you want to party every weekend, go ahead, do that. That's fine. But just think about the type of people that you keep around you. You can love people from a distance. That's fine. But keep that in mind and just I think that having a good support system was key for me. I always make sure that I find a support system wherever I go. In college, I'm in programs where I have an amazing support system. At home, I have my mom and my siblings, And I just, wherever I go, I just ensure that I have people that I know will be there for me if I were to ever fall. And another thing is to have mentors. Try to find someone who is in a field that you're interested in. If you want to become a doctor, try to find a doctor. And I always do these informal interviews. Whenever I find someone that I'm interested in talking to, I'm always like, hey, can I talk to you? I'd love to learn more about your career and what your day-to-day kind of life looks like. So always try to find a mentor whenever you can. I probably have like more than 5 mentors. As many as you can. They're all so different, and they're all going to be providing you with different pieces of advice from different perspectives. So try to really find someone that's doing something that you can see yourself doing in the future, and try to talk to them. Try to maybe even shadow them, which means just, maybe being with them for like a day on their job. And just try to see just try to get to know them better and try to see what steps you need to take. Connections are so important here in the US. I don't know about other places. I mean, I'm sure it's the same in Gambia.
Same here as well. Yeah.
Your network is just super duper important. I've gotten so many opportunities because of people that I knew, because of my mentors and things like that. So make sure you try to find mentors at every step. And by mentor, my mentor can be anyone. For example, I have mentors who are doctors. I have mentors who are medical students. And it doesn't matter. Find a mentor at every step. That's what one of my mentors told me, which I thought was great advice. But lastly, just know why you want to pursue something. Know why you want to become a doctor. Know why you want to become a scientist. My why is what keeps me going. That's what motivates me more than anything.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. I would say that's my key pieces of advice.
That's great. That's very great. Yeah, exactly. The same kind of journey I took as well. Because mentoring, I can't stress that enough. It's really important. At any step you took in your journey towards anything you want to do, you should have a mentor, someone that's been there before and kind of coach you. Because like I'm with IOS, and the IOS, we've got a mentoring program. What I normally do as well in the weekends, if I'm not working, I go and do free unpaid jobs just to get the experience. And also one thing you spoke about is you talked about getting your surroundings, getting people who you kind of talk to, and surround yourself with people, like-minded people. Exactly. Same with me. In my kind of surroundings, they're all older than me. They're all my big brothers. And from Ibu, all of them have got a degree. They've all got families. They've got, these are people who I look up to. Umar Farouk, he's now doing his masters. Dems is doing his nursing. So these are all the people I look up to. I talk to them all the time if I need advice. I kind of like stress the same kind of thing you just said now. People need to get mentors, and you need to surround yourself with good people. That's really important. So on the side of academia, man, I think we're done with that, man. That's clear. We haven't got long. So now I want us to talk about Mbama Care. The first question I want to ask you, how did that come about? How do you guys, you and your mom basically come up with it?
Yeah. So my mom has always known that everyone who knows me on a personal level knows that women's health is something that I am super passionate about. And again, as I mentioned before, a lot of that just comes from my experiences growing up in Gambia. And my mom knew that. And this was something that I've wanted to do for a long time. But I never really, I will always say it was just always an idea, but it was never something that I put into, something that I implemented until my mom was like, you know what, I think you should do this. Like, this is something that you care about. And in this current climate, people need it now more than ever. I was like, you know what, I think that's a good idea. Let's start a nonprofit to help women and children who have been impacted by maternal mortality or pregnant women, and help them and see how we can reduce that rate. So that's kind of why we started it. The idea came about because my mom and I was about women's health and preventing maternal mortality in Gambia.
Yeah, well, this is very dear to me as well because my mom lost, growing up, the baby that's after me died, due to complications through labor and stuff, so my mom could have lost her life in that, what I mean? So it's really, really, really dear to me, this topic, what I mean? For some of the people watching now, Gambians, they always like, what I mean? Oh, what's going to be there for me? If I get involved or I kind of like donate to this charity or this foundation, what benefits is he gonna get the average Gambian woman or the average Secretarian in Sukuta? What are they gonna benefit from your foundation?
Yeah. So the money that we're getting from the donations, a lot of them will be used to support our projects. So if you visit our website, you'll see some of the projects that we have planned. So for example, one of the projects that we plan on doing in the near future is doing a blood drive. I don't know about you, but I frequently see posts on Facebook asking, "Oh, this woman needs, O- blood, like urgently." And
I see it all the time.
Yeah. And it should never be that way. Like you should never, like at some point, like it has to be too late to even get that blood to them. So and again, the number one cause of maternal mortality in Gambia is hemorrhage, which is essentially just blood loss. And if we can organize a blood drive and have people donate blood and give them an incentive, so by giving them, maybe some money to donate blood, that could potentially save the lives of hundreds of women, if not thousands. So the money is used to support projects like that. For things like that, everything costs money, honestly. The march that we put together and everything we've been doing so far comes out of our pockets. My mom and I sponsored that march, and we spent a lot of money on it. And we're currently getting our 501(c) status here in the U.S., which is our tax status. So it's something that we have to do through the government, and that essentially recognizes our organization as a nonprofit. So in that way, we're not like, I don't know how other organizations work, but in Gambia, but here, if you do get 501(c) status, every money that you get, it has to be out there. So it's not like we do it for any personal gain. Here in the US, it's really hard to do things like that. And there's a lot of paperwork and things that you have to do to ensure that you're actually using the money for what you said you'll use it for. So we follow those guidelines when we're doing things like that. But yeah, so a lot, like as I mentioned before, a lot of it will just be used to support our project. For example, next week, when schools open in Gambia, which I don't know when they'll open, they keep changing it, we plan on distributing pads to girls in Gambia with another organization that I'm a part of. So just things like that, just using money to buy things like pads to distribute it to girls. But a lot of it will be used towards our goal of reducing maternal mortality in Gambia.
To be honest, in this day and age, I mean, someone goes to labor, a woman goes to labor, and they have to come to social media to ask for blood. It's beyond me. It shouldn't happen, to be honest.
That's one of the biggest things I want to work on, for sure.
Exactly. To your knowledge now, why do you think maternal and infant mortality rates are high in Gambia? What are some of the things that are behind this? What do you think?
So there's a whole bunch of things, and I think they all kind of come together to create this big disaster. So I'll hit on a few things. So as I mentioned before, hemorrhage is the number one cause of death, right? During maternal mortality, during labor, and a hemorrhage and things like preeclampsia and eclampsia, so things like that, so a lot of the things that do happen so I was speaking to a doctor actually, and she was telling me that a lot of the causes are due to first and second delays. So essentially, if things aren't detected early, if a mother is going to have an issue during if her blood level is low during her entire pregnancy and she goes to give birth, then there might be an issue. So I think essentially it comes down to kind of preventing and detecting those things early. So I think that lack of early detection is one of the causes. But there are also factors that are non-medical, like lack of transportation. So one of my aunts actually ended up passing away because for one, they didn't even know that she was pregnant with twins, and she gave birth to one of them successfully. And when she was being transported to a different hospital, she died on the way. And you hear so many stories like that. And so perhaps lack of transportation is another issue. Why not? I don't know. Well, I know you also haven't been in Gambia in a while, but why not have more transportation services to take women to their appointments and to take them to the hospital when they're ready to give birth, instead of them having to find taxis and things like that on their own? Why not have those services ready for them, but there are just a lot of things there, but it all kind of circles back to lack of resources. There aren't enough resources for anything, really. If anything,
what do you think about I don't mean to cut you, but what do you think about like the training that our nurses and doctors are getting? Do you think that too is inadequate? Oh,
indeed, yeah, I agree. I think that that's also inadequate, and that they also need more training. I've heard, and I think that there's a lot of distrust between the Gambian public and some physicians and nurses, and it shouldn't be that way. I think that they need to work on building more training. I do know that we've heard, so we get a lot of messages right through our page, and a lot of what I've seen, honestly, is just people complaining that nurses and doctors just weren't attentive to their needs, and it shouldn't be that way. I will actually say this from my experience. When I saw that woman give birth, so I keep referring to that one story, right? When I saw that woman give birth, I quite frankly felt like the nurses were being pretty rude to her, and that seems to be a common thing. Like, people are messaging us saying that. So maybe they need to have training on how to talk to people when they're in distress.
I couldn't agree more.
For sure, and there's certainly, and I do think that they need more training as well. And I think that they should be taking, well, I don't know if they already do this, but I think that they should be taking tests every once in a while to kind of prove that they're still, so just hold them accountable. Like, they do that here, right? And I'm sure they do
exactly
it as well.
Because I think, like, the primary thing all this boils down to is logistics, man. Because especially in the provinces, a lot of women die due to lack of transportation, and you can't put a pregnant woman behind a donkey cart and that's bouncing,
Yeah, exactly. But the health sector just needs more funding. Like, they need more funding. Like, we need better infrastructure. We need more drugs. We need a lot of things. Like, they just need more funding. They need more money to buy things.
And it's very, very sad. We're kind of running out of time. Basically, what do you think, the government can do to better the situation for the women and the kids in the Gambia right now? So that they don't, it shouldn't be like a woman have to die for barely like getting pregnant. That shouldn't happen in this day and age. What do you think the government should do going forward to reduce this kind of stuff?
Well, for one, I think that they need to come up with a plan to address this issue, and they need to actually implement those plans. They need to provide more funding, and they need to provide more training to their physicians. But essentially, it all comes down to the fact that there aren't enough resources. There isn't enough of anything. Hospitals need more. Literally, the Sukuta clinic had only 3 beds. You can only give birth in 3 different rooms. And that's ridiculous. Even though Sukuta is kind of small, that's still not enough. And they just need to give more materials and more equipment to these hospitals, but also provide them with good training. Maybe have physicians from the US and the UK come to Gambia and train those people. It doesn't mean that the people in Gambia are not, they're not competent or that they don't know what they're doing. But I think that it also helps to get a different perspective on how to practice medicine. So, but it may, again, like I said, they need more money. The health sector needs more funding. Like the hospitals need to be, they just need to be teared down, maybe not teared down, but we need better infrastructure. So they need to fix things that are there. I remember seeing a few things on Facebook about the fact that some surgeons were operating with no electricity. Like, how can that be? These things should never happen. Like, these are life and death situations, and it shouldn't.
Yeah. In the case of Sukuta, man, like a lot of the things in that hospital is been brought there by secretarians. We actually put money together and build everything. So the government has done nothing for us. That's why, I don't try to bring politics into my stuff, but we shouldn't be running after these people because they've done barely anything for us. Yeah. I wouldn't conclude this interview without asking about the Gambian Women's Life Matter on the 23rd of September, the march. How were you guys able to pull that crowd? How do you guys basically, spread the word? How were you able to get all that women and men as well coming out to support the cause?
Yeah, well, first, I'd like to say that social media is a powerful tool. So if you can use it to your advantage, do that. So my mom, I think she's actually not getting the credit she deserves. I think that my mom is actually the one who spearheaded everything. So she has, just like me, she has been very vocal about maternal mortality in Gambia. And about a few weeks leading to the march, she started creating posts and just started sharing stories of women, and it started kind of getting some attention from her like friends and some followers on Facebook that she has. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna create a frame that says, because when the whole Black Lives Matter movement was going on and people were creating the Black Lives Matter frame and using it on their Facebook, I was like, you know what, why not create something similar for Gambian women and call it Gambian Women's Lives Matter, because it does. So I decided to create that frame, and I wrote a message on there, which I'm sure you probably saw. And I was like, I urge you all to add this to your profile. And I just started seeing a ton of people do it. And through that, the march was kind of organized. And, we did face some challenges with organizing that because we are in a pandemic. But it was done peacefully, and we followed all of the guidelines. And so it was a bit challenging, but I think that literally every single Gambian that I know knows that this is an issue, and they're all passionate about it, and we all want to end this once and for all. So it wasn't that challenging to honestly get people to come together, because everyone has been affected by this issue in one way or another.
Right. We can only commend you guys for going through with it, man. Really noble and very, very important issue that we need to put to bed now. I think in this day and age, we shouldn't be, basically our women shouldn't die just for the mere sake of getting pregnant. That shouldn't happen. So what next for Mama Care? What are some of the things you guys are looking in the pipeline? What other things are you looking at?
Thank you for asking me that. So again, as I said, we have a lot of essentially our main goal is to end maternal mortality. Of course, we can't end it, but if we can get the rate down, that's our main goal. So we plan on doing little things to get there. If it means getting a car and driving women to their appointments, we would like to do things like that. But again, funding is an issue per usual. So these are all plans. Nothing is set in stone yet. But again, as I mentioned before, the blood drive is something that we really, really want to be a regular thing in Gambia. We want that to be an everyday thing. We want people to go out every month or so and give blood. So that's our biggest projects so far. But we just want to do little things to ensure that women are, to ensure that there are no barriers to women giving birth successfully, especially women in rural Gambia who can't even afford to go see a doctor. And we want to be able to, maybe pay for their medical expenses and pay for them to go, pay for transportation to go see their doctors, and pay for those visits as well. And just pay for anything that can help them give birth successfully and kind of just lessen the financial burden that bringing a baby into this world can cause.
Yeah, great. Oh, that's great, man. So before we go, I need to ask, if I want to help, how do I go about doing that?
Yeah.
If I want to help the foundation.
Yeah. So the biggest thing, as I mentioned before, is that we also need more donations. So we need more funding as well. So you can either donate on our website at mbamacare.org, which is MBAMACARE.org.
I think Ibu just said it here. We've got it here.
Good.
Yeah. It's on the thing, yeah.
Yeah. Or you can donate to our Gambian Women's Lives Matter GoFundMe, which I believe Ibu is also attaching to the live stream.
Yeah.
Or you can just simply spread the word. We're really trying to get our name out there. And I think we've been doing a good job doing that with all the press that we've been getting due to the protest, the march that we had. But just spread the word. And if you have a project in mind that you'd like to work on with us, we're very inviting and we're very open. Let's work together to eliminate this issue. We want to work with as many people as we can to eliminate these disparities.
True. Right. Yeah, we run out of time. Before we go, can you just basically your final words to the audiences, and what kind of message do you want to get out there before we leave?
Well, I want to ensure the youth in Gambia that you can do anything that you put your mind to. You have to work hard. Nothing is easy, honestly. Nothing is easy at all. And don't let your circumstances define you. If you're from a family that makes less than $1 per day, don't let that define you.
Right.
Find mentors and just create a plan. Have goals in life. Just have goals. You should have goals. You shouldn't be sitting and drinking ataya. I mean, you can, but have goals in life. Have dreams and try to follow through with them as much as you can. And work hard and be resourceful. There are many resources out there. Take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way. But the main thing is you have to work hard to get everywhere. So dream big and work hard. That's what I'll say.
Amazing. Like I would also like to say, I should be an example to a lot of people because I came here. I had to build from scratch. Everything I got, from hard work and God. You know what I mean? Because I remember when I told my boss I wanted to do a degree, because those of you who know the army, we travel a lot and we do a lot of stuff. He told me I was mad. You know what I mean? We haven't got time. You can't do it.
Yeah.
And with the help of God and hard work, I got basically first class honors.
Wow.
And I'm currently doing my master's. So if I can do it, any of you can. You know what I mean? Do not put yourself in a bubble. Your dad or your mom might not be educated, but that shouldn't stop you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Their goal is to get you educated. It doesn't matter, man. You don't have to be into academia. You can also do, technical skill jobs and stuff, I want to thank you, Matida, for coming on. We run out of time. We'll do this some more time, when we have time in the near future.
Inshallah.
And at the same time, I'll let you know, this TV will support the Mbama Care. We will share the GoFundMe link. We'll get the news. We will get the word out there. Don't worry about that. So, thank you very much, man. Thanks for your time. Everyone has been watching. Shanka. Thank you.
To talk about the issue of maternal mortality in the Gambia. Maternal mortality mukula di meya lonko ajakalo warta. We cannot continue losing our mothers, sisters, and aunties on a daily basis, either due to negligence or lack of proper medical care. We have a belief that no woman should die bringing forth another life, and we believe the necessary action should be taken whilst we engage the Ministry of Health to help us eradicate the issue of maternal mortality.
So we say no more. You, I, us, we can make the change that we want. So speak up. Take action. Keeping quiet is not the solution. So speak up. Take action. Childbirth should not be a death sentence. So speak up. Take action. Because Gambian women's lives matter. I thank you all.
Gambia muso bele ko da mami rola
Because in I was your Dr. Rolla. Gambia muso bela kamuta mami rola. Because in I was your Dr. Rolla. Matida Bojang, Badin Jamadina. I foundation on the Soto.
Money is funny. Kodo for better ya. I better ya. Amutala se jawiya. Astu ka kampanga kodo.